Hello, first grade. So today's book is a book by Tomie dePaola and his book of Bible stories. But before I read to you a few of those, I want to tell you a little bit about Tomie himself. He wrote over 270 books for children. He loved kids. He won many awards, and he actually lived in New Hampshire. It says here in his biography that I'm reading that he worked in a 200-year-old renovated barn. Now, the reason why I want to tell you a little bit more about him is because on March 30th of this year, he passed away. But he lived a long, wonderful life, fulfilled with blessings, and one of the major parts of his life was his faith. And so I just wanted to share with you a little bit more about his faith, which is our faith. And he both wrote and illustrated these wonderful pictures and stories. So, first one, the Lord's Supper. On the first day of the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, which is called Passover, when it was customary to sacrifice the Passover lamb, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to go and make preparations for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent two of his disciples, telling them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. Say to the owner of the house he enters, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large upper room, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." The disciples left, went into the city, and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were reclining at the table eating, he said, "I tell you truth, one of you will betray me, one who is eating here with me." They were saddened, and one by one they said to him, "Surely not I, Jesus." "It is one of the 12, he replied, "one who dips bread into this bowl with me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born." While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, broke it, gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take this, all of you. This is my body." Then he took the cup. He gave thanks. He offered it to them, and they all drank from it. "This is the blood of my covenant, which is poured out for you and for many," he said to them. "I tell you the truth, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it anew in the kingdom of God." So this occurred on Holy Thursday, which we also call the Last Supper, this event. Later, Jesus and the 12 go to Gethsemane. Jesus went with the disciples to a place called Gethsemane. He said to them, "Sit here while I go and I pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to the disciples and found them sleeping. "Could you men not keep watch with me for 1 hour?" He asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak." He went a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, then your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and he went once more and prayed a third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour is near, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Friend, do what you came for." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. One of the things that really strikes me is that Jesus knew Judas was going to do this, and he allowed it to happen anyway, because as he said, it's not our will, it's God's will. And the other thing I want to point out is that Jesus refers to Judas as friend, even as he betrays him, because he forgives us no matter what we do. Good Friday. The governor's soldiers took Jesus to the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand and knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off the robe and put on his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. This is where we notice the stations of the cross. As they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. There they offered Jesus wine to drink mixed with gall, but after tasting it, he refused to drink it. When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots, and sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Above his head, they placed the written charge against him: "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "You are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days? Well, then save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are really the Son of God." In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders mocked him. "He saved others," they said, "but he cannot save himself. He's the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" In the same way, the robbers who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him. From the 6th hour until the 9th hour, darkness came over the land. About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He is calling to Elijah." Immediately, one of them went and got a sponge. He filled it with wine vinegar and put it on a stick and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him." And when Jesus cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. In that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split. The tombs broke open, and the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs, and after Jesus' resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, "Surely he was the Son of God." And that's where we'll stop. So what I really like about reading stories about the Bible from different authors, especially children's authors, is that they all tell it from a different perspective. And it is biblically based. It's based upon the Bible. But it's neat to read other people's versions and to gather more information that way. So I hope you've enjoyed your work so far this week. I hope you have a very wonderful Happy Hump Day Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing each of you soon. Take care.